Hello, hello, hello. This is Hal Williams with Hal's Hit List. I'm back right along with Sharlette Hambrick, our Emmy Award winning co host and producer. My
Thank
rock,
you.
my wall. Welcome in from her from New Orleans, one of my best places. And we have an exciting film to talk about today called Uncorked. And we'll be talking to you about how wine is made and how wine is tested and how people have interacted and stories. Some real interesting stories behind and based on different wines around the world. So I have one little thing I would like to say. I'm up to here with the Django's and the 12 years of slaves and all the antebellum stuff, the Hateful Eight and all that. That was all good, and we needed to be reminded. But if you really look at the picture, our Black experience in this country and everywhere else has barely scratched the surface. I want to commend all these young filmmakers coming into the industry now in the midst of all this cable device and outlets and all this stuff. Prentice Penny, Will Packard, Issa Rae, Regina King, all these people coming in and showing what we really are about in the total Black experience. Because people don't know. My God, they would never have believed anything about what we go through with as Black males and targets on our back if George Floyd hadn't occurred. People did not believe. They thought we were making it couldn't be that bad. Oh, are you sure? That's the kind of stuff I heard. That incident opened a lot of eyes around the world to what we go through in the Black experience. So I want to commend these young filmmakers and encourage them to keep on making the kind of films that they've made and are making. Like we had Black Love that we did, and you'll be really impressed with what we did on that. You're going to really enjoy that one, I'm telling you. So
Well, a surprise.
be ready for some Black Love, baby. If you're not ready, you better get ready. But
Right?
anyway, I'm going to let Charlotte take over now so we can get into this week's wine show. Go ahead, Charlotte.
Welcome to Hal's Hit List. And the film Uncorked made Hal's List, which everybody knows that listens to the show. That means I watched it. Anything that makes his list, I'm going to watch it. And I have to say, again, I am so happy that Hal brought this film to my attention and this filmmaker. I really enjoyed it. I'm going to let Hal tell you what the story's about, and then we'll talk a little bit about Prentice Penny, who is the writer, the director, and the producer of the film. Do you want to give a little bit about the storyline of the film, Hal?
Well, basically the storyline, I don't want to tell too much about it because we're going to talk at length about it during the film, but it goes back to the old thing of every male and every of every ethnicity. The father, if he's been successful, if he were honest, he would love for his son to follow in his footsteps, no matter what the son might want to do and reaching goals that he has and dreams about what he wants to be. You know, if your father's a winemaker, then we want you to be a winemaker. If your father cooks barbecue and wants to run you the barbecue place, if your father's a lawyer, he expects you to join the practice, that kind of thing. That's the basis for this movie, but that's not really what the movie is all about, as you will soon see. And it's a very enjoyable thing. The way people, I was very impressed about the casting in this movie. The actors in the movie, Niecy Nash. I didn't know she had those kind of chops. And when you really see it, you will see what I'm talking about. And Courtney Vance, and playing the dad, and Sasha Campreri playing the young lady with the son, and Mamadou Ihi, I think is his last name. It's wonderful. It's wonderful. That's what it's about. It's a very compassionate story, and it's one on your level, probably, if you're a father, even if you're a mother, you can identify with the conflict that's going to be going on in this film.
Absolutely.
So that's what it's about.
Absolutely. This was Prentice Penny's directorial debut. And for his first film, I have to say, he came out swinging. and with, and he started out as a trainee on the show Girlfriends. He was co-producer on Do Not Disturb. He worked on The Hustle. Many may know him as the showrunner for Insecure. So he's definitely been around, but this particular film, I think it's going to put him on the map. Aside from what you were talking about with, fathers, and this film particularly deals with Black fathers and sons,
Right.
and that relationship. So I want to talk about that a little bit. I have all brothers. I'm the only daughter. So
Oh,
I
wow.
watched that dynamic between my father and each one of my brothers, and it was completely different. I'm a daddy's girl. So
Naturally.
so I spent a lot of time, with my father, and I always got shotgun in the front seat of the car, being the only daughter. But I mean, I watched a particular story I remember so vividly was when my brother wanted to get his first car, and he felt that my father somehow should have just given him the car. And my father felt like he needed to learn some responsibility and said, I'll give you the car, but you're going to make payments to me because I'm going to get a new car, but there's still some payments left on this old car, and you're going to finish making those payments. My brother thought that was like the most ridiculous thing he ever heard of, and he was so angry about it. And so I watched that happen, and I was like, wow, that was interesting to see that happen. What about your relationship with with your sons? I mean, any of them want to get into acting?
All my children I exposed to the business, and then I backed off. My daughter's the only one. My daughter was got the first job we had. Everybody, she was in the Great White Hope.
Oh yes, yes.
And I was the guardian on set, so she got in the union before I did. My son was in Taps and Blue in the Air Force, where he's a major, and he did a lot of talent shows and acting there. That was my oldest son. My son Chip, who we lost, was a filmmaker, actor, director, writer. Has several scripts that I'm going to try to produce at some point. I was never really challenged by any of my sons, but my oldest son. He was the son that out of, like you had 3 or 4 brothers, he was the one that thought he could take the old man. We never found out.
He knew it all.
I could always tell right up to the day. He called me yesterday and we talked. I said, remember when you thought you could take the old man? I said, you remember what the old adage said? I brought you into this world.
I'll take you out. I definitely don't know that.
But that's the experience I had with my sons. Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's all been positive. My kids never gave me not 1 minute's trouble. And I was a man at the time who had custody of his children, when a Black man and most men did not have custody of the kids, especially if you had a girl thrown in there too. But in all that time, they never gave me, they're all honor students, all on the dean's list, that kind of thing. Never gave me a minute's trouble. But I have to admit, I was extremely stern disciplinarian.
Oh, I bet you were. I bet you were.
I used to be a correctional officer. I never told you that. I worked with kids for 15 years, juvenile corrections in the state of Ohio, and California Youth Authority, and Franklin County Children's Services as a social worker for battered and abused kids. So kids and relationships have been a big part of my main life until I got divorced and decided to become an actor, if I could.
Well, on that subject, I mean, how important do you think it is for fathers to stay involved, whether or not they marry the moms? Because sometimes, like you said, marriages don't necessarily work out. But how important do you think it is for fathers to stay involved?
I think it's extremely important, because I was never involved with my biological father except from a distance. And my stepfather and I, he was my stepfather. I was raised until I got out of high school, I was raised in my great grandmother's house.
I see.
That's who instilled in me all the values, because she never thought I was going to find a woman good enough for me. So she taught me how to cook, sew, clean, and all that, and I passed that along to my children. So right now people say, "Why do you live in a 5-bedroom house by yourself?" I said, because I had to go to the nightclubs and find my real dad if I wanted to see him, and he never gave me counsel unless I asked for something, and usually he couldn't give me real good answers. During World War II, he was in the war the whole 5 years of World War II, so I didn't see him then. So I have said always, my kids always know where their daddy is, how to get to him, and that they got plenty of food and a roof over their head for the time they're going to spend with
Well, I think, communication is important. And as we will see, in the film, and when we talk about the film more, just because you're present doesn't mean that you're expected to have all the answers.
them. No,
And I think that's where a lot of men shy away from fatherhood, because their expectations are for them to have all the answers, which I think in many instances you can discover the answers together
right,
and talk about it. Because in this
right,
movie, the father and son never really talked about each other's goals and dreams, or dreams
no,
that were never fulfilled. So
right,
the son wasn't aware of dreams that the father may have had, because they never talked about each other's dreams and how his dreams got cut off. So that's what was so beautiful about it. But we talk about a lot of different films, and there are some other films that also deal with father-son relationships. Are there any that come to mind for you?
uh, no, Boys in the Hood. That was a father son movie. Yeah, and like you had pointed out too, he got game. There's probably two or three others that I just can't take off the top of my head. Um, but I think that what you just said is so very important, that if you mistakenly think that you got to come up with something each time, no. I remember. Do you remember one line in the movie where his son said something about why you owe me so much, and his father jumped in and said, "Because you think you're better than us." And
Wow.
that
Yes, I
I
do
think
recall that.
that was a heck of a line. That said a lot about his position and why he was so obviously against the young man trying to be a sommelier or anything else other than a barbecue man. That he thought that was the thing, that you think this is something beneath you, you know, and you ought to be able to come to the father and ask questions. And as you say, son, I don't really know. Well, let's find out. Let's go check it out. Let's do something. Well, I know something that we could do, and maybe we both learn something. To approach it from that way, you know. I like the way they handled the relationship with Ray Allen and Denzel, and He Got Game. That whole situation there. It's just that the thing about the men always being gone is what bothers me. Black men aren't always gone, and this kind of movie proves it. And other movies that have come along, a lot of fathers stay. You know, Mine never stayed, never started to stay, but that didn't make me love him any less. I tried to understand the man. I was never really close. I was closer to him as a man than I ever was as a son,
Mhm.
and that's a strange dichotomy, but that's exactly the way it was.
And I think
Um,
in some instances it's also economical reasons. And with my family, my father worked multiple jobs so that my
right,
mom was able to stay at home with us.
right,
So she was a stay-at-home mom, and she did volunteer work and so forth at the school. So that was my upbringing. But at the same time, I had friends whose fathers were not there. And in many instances, it was because they didn't feel that they could provide 100% for their
right,
families. And
right,
sometimes because of embarrassment or societal expectations, I think some men shy away from their responsibilities, as opposed to having the philosophy of, we could do so much better together if we
Right.
work together, that it's not expected that you have to, be there 100% both emotionally and financially.
Right.
And every little bit matters to a child. And they don't really care if you're driving a Mercedes or if you're driving a Honda. They just
True.
like sitting in the front seat. So I think that the acceptance, I think, of Black men in particular, in saying, you're welcome, and any contribution that you can make is a
Right.
welcome contribution. And society has to look at things differently. And you brought up George Floyd, and I think that protest and the rage that people had, and Black Lives Matter, I think it might cause sort of a reassessment and cause people to step back and take another look at Black men in America and Black men as fathers.
But not to interrupt you, but I'm at that age. If I don't say it quick, I'll forget what I was going to say.
You're not interrupting me. You get it out. You get it out, Hal.
but out of that has come in a much stronger sense now. I've heard more fathers and more mothers and more family members say, we keep telling our young people how to react and how to behave if they get pulled over. That you are an endangered species. There is a target on your back. You have to be aware of where your hands are, your attitude, how you're dressed, what kind of car you are in, and that kind of thing, and what your response is. Because look how many tragedies have occurred with unarmed Black individuals. So that kind of thing.
That conversation that fathers have to have with their sons, and mothers also have to have that conversation with their sons.
Right. And everybody is doing it now as a result of George Floyd. Everybody's, it doesn't make any difference about what gender. They're all telling the kids how they should be aware when they're out there. When you leave your front door, you're vulnerable in every sense of the word. So,
and it doesn't matter how many years of college you have. It doesn't matter how much money you may have in your wallet, and how many, credit cards and platinum cards you may have in your wallet. It doesn't matter. It's a power issue that is going on. Absolutely. But on a lighter note, I want to talk about one of the key subjects of the movie, which was wine. Our lead character was a sommelier. I don't know if I'm saying that correctly.
You are.
Okay.
Sommelier.
And I think we all, at some point, when we drank wine or we drink wine, we think we know a little bit, about it. I've been on my wine tours and etc.
Sure.
So I think I know a little bit. I started off being a red wine drinker when I first started drinking wine and first moved to California. But then I gradually moved to the lighter white wines. There was a film, I don't know if you remember, that came out in 2004. It's Sideways.
Oh yeah.
You remember that one? That really, it focused on two friends, doing sort of a wine tour and who they came across while doing it. Well, I went on that tour, and I went to the Hitching Post, and I went to all the different spots on the tour. It was so much fun. It was a lot of fun to do that. And Hollywood loved that film. They really loved it.
Yeah. I started out drinking Italian wine because I lived in a neighborhood that was Black, white, Jewish, and Italian, and drinking Chianti. Went from Chianti on and moved on up the ladder. And when I was playing football, we were drinking Boone's Farm. And there was that period when that Red Fox used to talk about on the Sanford and Son, we were drinking Ripple, and calling it Sham Pipple and all that kind of stuff. But as you say, then as I grew up, and became an adult, got out into the world. When I first came to California, I spent a lot of time at San Antonio wineries uh,
Okay.
over in Santa Monica because they had a wine tasting place, you know. And I said, oh man, he's going there and get a little buzz and spend 2 or 3 hours, a little bit at a time, you know, that kind of thing. So that's how I got turned on. And then I got turned on to Napa and the jazz tours up there and things,
Oh,
and
nice.
sampling wines that were locally grown and all that kind of stuff. And I remember there was a Keanu Reeves movie called A Walk in the Clouds. This
Yes.
guy, he's a soldier and he's on his way home and he runs into this Mexican girl who's on her way home and she's pregnant. And she doesn't want her father to think that she got pregnant out of wedlock. So she asked him to go home with her and for 6 days to pose as her husband. And her father is a winemaker. And it's all about how they make the wine and they have a fire and it all turns out positive at the end. But that movie had a heck of an impression on me. But the whole wine experience is very good. It's very good. I drink FRE now, which is free, which is alcohol free, 1%, that kind of thing. But every now and then, probably on New Year's, I drink the real thing.
Oh, nice, nice. Little sparkling wine.
Oh yeah, real bubbly.
Absolutely.
You
Um,
drink sangria?
I have had sangria before. It's
I
very
like sangria.
refreshing. It's
Yes, it
extremely
is.
refreshing. I am more of a Sauvignon Blanc drinker. Uh,
Oh,
yeah,
oh,
I know, right? Because you brought up the fact that sometimes African American Black cultures, uh, they don't explore in films some of our desires. But there's
right.
actually several vineyards that are run by Black families.
Mm-hmm.
And
Mm-hmm.
one is have you ever heard of the McBride sisters?
Black Girls Magic
Mm-hmm.
wine
One.
distribution. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
I heard of them from Oakland, California. Yeah,
exactly.
yeah.
Well, this is what I was thinking. I was thinking that uh, Black community uh, spends so much money in so many different industries. And I just think it's magnificent to research. And when I first got to New Orleans, I spent time researching to find out what were some of the Black owned restaurants, what were some of
Oh
the
yeah.
what were some of the Black owned jazz clubs, what were some of the Black owned, industries here, pharmacies, and etc. So I also think that it's important to Google, if you are a
Yeah.
wine drinker or if you like vodka or whatever it is that you like, think about those businesses also and find out, if there's a way that you could support the industry.
Sure.
And
Sure.
so I am making an effort to do so. And I have a really great friend of mine, um, Zena, who you know as well. She has introduced me to a lot of Black-owned businesses,
Oh
and
yeah.
I am so grateful, to her for that. And she does a lot of research, and she shares a lot in that area. And we've had like little wine drinking sessions at her home, and she'll introduce a wine from a Black vineyard. So it's important. It's
She's
important.
amazing. She's amazing. She's
Oh
amazing.
yes, there were two key elements of this film. It was the son who had an obsession with wines and
Right.
wanted to be the sommelier of a very five-star, 4-star restaurant and be able to recommend wines to individuals when they come to wine pairings and etc. And the father, who was an expert in barbecue.
Right.
So we're going to do a little switch, and we're going to switch over from the topic of wine and we're going to move over to the topic of barbecue. And there are so many different regional barbecues in this country, just like there's regional wines in this country. And I want to know from you, Texas versus Memphis versus California versus Kansas City. Where was the best barbecue you ever had and why?
Truthfully, the best barbecue I ever had was in the town I grew up in, Columbus, Ohio, by a guy named Tim Treadwell. It was called J-Van. I have never tasted a barbecue better than that anywhere. And because I say that, he never put sauce on his barbecue until it was time to put it on a plate. He cooked the meat and everything, and I never ate barbecue with sauce on it till much later on in life. The best place I've had barbecue outside of my hometown was Arthur Bryant's in Kansas City. And I've tried Texas, I've tried Memphis, I've sent away for barbecue.
You are a barbecue connoisseur.
Well, I quite honestly, in 1983 and 4, I became a sous chef. Oh, wow. I went to school during hiatus from 227 and went and became a sous chef. I have cooked barbecue all my life. You know, I've had a Pitmaster grill and a Weber kettle and all that stuff all my life. And along with your friend Zena, her husband, Cedric, has what we call a green egg. And that's a barbecue grill. He cooks, it's an egg-shaped, suspended on legs barbecue grill. Mm-hmm. And it's kind of like a Japanese grill in a way, but much larger. And it looks like an egg, and it's green. And the top comes off, you know. You can smoke, grill all down in there. And he cooks. I told him, I accused him of cooking, going back in time and cooking brontosaurus. Whenever I know he's cooking, I say, hey, you have a brontosaurus for Memorial Day? That kind of thing. But the barbecue thing started back in the islands, you know, in Guyana and places like that. They used to barbecue whole pigs. And way back during the Spanish Armada days, some of the tribes barbecued their enemies. That's where the barbecue, Barbie.
You know, you need to stop.
Q is tail, right? Barbie was a head, from head to tail, they barbecued of the hog, you know, or the individual. But that's where the name barbecue came from.
Wow.
But those I've had, and in Columbus now they have what they call a jazz rib fest in August. From Thursday through Sunday, they got every kind of barbecue guy from every part of the country. Big semi trucks pull in downtown on the waterfront, set up tents, and they got peach cobbler and baked beans and the best chicken and barbecue you ever want to taste. So that's my experience with barbecue.
Now, I heard that you actually have judged a few barbecue contests in your day.
Yeah, I have. And I did one last weekend. And I want to tell the people you're cheating because they gave us these little styrofoam containers with 4 rib bones from each cook. But they were all smeared with sauce. Oh. So you ended up tasting sauce, not the meat. And and the prize was $500. We gave the winning prize to a guy because his tip fell off the bone. It was the most tender.
Ooh,
it wasn't necessarily. Then we found out from one of his friends, he committed a holy sin. He parboiled them before he put them on the grill. That's a no. That's cheating.
It is cheating. It's cheating, but I have to say, I do that not with the barbecue. I do it with barbecue chicken wings. I like barbecue chicken wings, and I will and then throw them on the grill. I like the pulled pork and also the flat with the little bones, and I can't think of what it is, but it's a Caribbean style barbecue that I like a lot. I like dry. I like dry barbecue. So I've had it where they just put like a salt on it, and they don't use any sauce at all. I've had that barbecue, which is really with like ice salt, and it tastes so amazing, and it has no sauce at all. So you probably would like that.
I don't know. I put sauce in a bowl when I cook barbecue. People come to my house. Right. I don't put it on the meat. I bring the meat in. I put it on platters. And I have the baby backs and everything, and I have bowls of sauce with a paintbrush. And if you got a piece of meat and put it on your plate, You take that brush and dip it in, and you lather up your piece of meat before you eat it. But I don't cook it on there. I have a basting sauce made of secret basting with soy sauce and liquid smoke and vinegar.
Are you giving out your recipe?
No, it's a basting sauce. That's a flat basting sauce. It's not in the sauce. No,
Okay.
no.
Now, before we start closing out, so what do you think are the best side dishes for barbecue?
Oh, baked beans, cucumber salad, sliced cucumbers with tomatoes and onions and vinegar water, and potato salad, cold potato salad. I got a friend, his wife makes hot potato salad. Who wants to eat hot potato salad?
You want it right out of the refrigerator.
And also mac and cheese. Mac and cheese. Mac and cheese. Maybe some green beans. But not green bean casserole. I don't know who thought that up. That's not a favorite of mine. I'm talking about green beans with some smoked turkey wings in the middle of them and some seasoning. Yeah.
Now I'm getting hungry. Now I have to go try to find a barbecue spot.
I saw Uncorked for the third time the other night, and I wanted some barbecue so bad. I went to Costco and I bought some packaged barbecue, took it home, put it in the kitchen, and rinsed all that sauce off of it, washed it off, and put it on my Weber grill for half an hour and seasoned it and ate some bones.
Well, that's a shortcut. You cheated.
It was okay. No, I just wanted something so bad, and there's no place for me to get good barbecue where I live. No place. In LA, different. There's places all over in LA.
Yeah, I like Bledsoe. I've been there before in LA.
Which one? The one in Hollywood or the one out by the airport?
I've only been to the one on La Brea.
Oh yeah, well they got one at the airport at the old airfield. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
My grill is in storage, and I'm thinking I may have to buy a new one. But I've been tearing up some crawfish down here.
I make and like etouffee.
Oh,
etouffee. Yeah.
Oh wow! I'm gonna have to try your
etouffee. You know where Tony's is in New Orleans?
Yes.
Tony's Seafood. Well, I order from them and they ship it to me packed in dry ice. Yeah. Wow. Catfish, and etouffee.
You don't mess around.
That's one of my favorite. I spent 6 years in New Orleans and Baton Rouge doing the sickle cell telethon. That's why I learned how to fry a turkey, not roast a turkey.
Don't get me started on fried turkey. Get me started.
I don't eat for a week before I come to your city, honey.
Well, you got to come.
I'm throwing out all the stops.
Well, you have to come back. We have to do a show from New Orleans, okay?
Yeah, you got it. Alrighty. When we start flying again.
We're going to do it. Well, I'm Sharlette Hambrick. Thank you again, Hal, for the recommendation. We'll see you next week.
Thank you, Sharlette. And come back and join us next week. We're going to have something really good for you, I promise. And be yourself. Everybody else is already taken. Bye.